Welcome back. When we put the Bug back on the road, I had bought a rebuilt or a new carburetor. It was really cheap at the time, and we still have a little bit of drivability issues with this thing, but this thing was completely frozen and locked up. So we're going to give it a soaking now for a while and take it apart and rebuild it and throw it back on the car. I got somebody meowing at me who wants to get fed. Where are you? You hungry? All right, hold on. I got to finish filming. I'm going to give it a soaking first, and then we'll take it apart. And I'm going to pull out that drain plug, and then we're going to see if it fits in that can. That's all assembled at this point. Just let it soak in there. Well, the whole thing fits in there. We're going to let it sit for probably a few weeks. We pulled this thing after an extremely long soak, and at least I'm happy now that it moves. So we're going to disassemble everything now, clean everything again, probably soak some parts again, but 90% of what I wanted cleaned is done. We're going to spray this down with carb cleaner to get all the gook off of it right now. Okay, let's take this thing apart and see how nasty it is on the inside. Hopefully it won't be too bad. I had put a brand new carburetor on the Sunbug because it was cheap and it would have saved me time than going through this one at the time. But the car has some hesitation problems that may be from the carburetor, so we're going to put this one back on and see if we eliminate that. I believe this is the original carb on the car. It has a tag on it. I have to double check what the number would be correct for it, but it was so locked up, frozen, I figured it'd be faster to put a different one on. But let's see how bad this is on the inside. Oh, not as bad as I expected. That's pretty good. Hencho in Mexico, says the float. Nothing rattling inside? Bueno. Some junk in there. This thing's soaked for a long time, as you could see, so hopefully this will clean up pretty easy. We may soak it again, we may not. Let's take the rest of the things apart. Take a peek. Accelerator pump. This is the vacuum diaphragm for the choke. Spring in there. It's going to spring away on me. That meshes into the choke right there, so move it out of the way. Slide that out. Third time's a charm. 14 millimeter. This is the needle valve that controls the fuel coming into the carburetor. Now we're going to unscrew all the plugs and all the jets in the main body of the carb. All the small parts, I'm just going to let them soak in carburetor cleaner, and the rest of the body of the carb, we're just going to put them in a little tray here and spray them all out with some carb cleaner. Be careful when you're doing this, because if it sprays you in your face, it's going to burn your eyes out. I know from experience, so try to wear some glasses and be cautious. This is the bypass air screw. It takes a lot of turns to get it out. We'll spray this thing off in the passageway too, and the other idle mixture screw too will come out. Time to change my gloves. Now we're going to take this outside and blow air through every little passage that we can. Okay, the kit you'll buy usually will have multiple gaskets, so match up the best one that matches with the one that came off of your carb. You got a couple different, got the needle for the float. They'll give you a new rod sometimes for that. I will probably use the original one. I don't like the taper of that one there. And the rest of all these parts are all cleaned up. I put a new little O-ring on that. And now we'll put this back together. I like to put a little lube on the O-ring on this part, and then I'll test fit it into the body of the carb to make sure it fits snugly in there before I put it in the correct way. I bottom this thing out and then I'll back it off 2 turns. All the jets got blown out and made sure they were nice and clean, and everything will get screwed back into its original place. A new O-ring on the mixture screw, and I'll put a little lube on there and I'll put that back in place. Same thing with that, we'll bottom it out and we'll turn it out like about a 1 turn to start. New gasket on the drain plug, and then we'll tighten this up. Don't forget to put the spring in for the accelerator pump, otherwise you're not going to be pumping anything. And keep putting the rest of the parts back in where they came from. Most of the stuff won't fit in any other hole, so you really can't get it confused. Slide the new choke diaphragm in there. You got to have it mesh with a little cam inside there. And then put the cover on, and again, don't forget to put your spring in there, otherwise this thing won't work properly. The carb kit should come with a new retainer for the float. If you have issues with your float, you could buy one separately. I'm going to be reusing this old one because it still appears to be good. Okay, this carb sat for like 30 years. I want to make sure the accelerator pump is going to work, so before I button this thing up, I'm actually filling the bowl up with gasoline. Be careful you don't blow yourself up. I want to see if it squirts. Let's see what we got. Oop, too far. There we go. I don't know if you can see it. Good. We've got good squirtage. Now we will suck this back out. I should have done this before. This is the old needle. I put it back in just to measure the height on it, just to compare with the new needle that was going to go in. All right, we'll put the new one in now, we'll make it snug, and then we'll remeasure it to make sure it's the same as the old one. And it is. Time to button this thing back up. I got the right gasket for it, put the lid back on, and tighten up all of our screws. All right, let's see if these have continuity. Yes. And yes, this one looks like it's bent, that air cutoff solenoid. See if I could straighten it out. Let's put some voltage to these and see if they actually do what they're supposed to do. Okay, we should be hot here. Let's check. Yes. Nothing. That might be a goner. All right, we are getting movement. It is very slow. All right. That looks to be where it was before, going by the marks on the case. So if we need to play with it later, we will. As for this, I'm not sure if it's good or not. We could take the one off of the other carburetor and test it, compare. Either way, it's bent. So okay, carb's all assembled, ready to go back on the car. What are you doing? Enjoying your breakfast?